Hello, this is Jenny-Jaymes Gunn. I am a community advocate here in Charlotte, North Carolina for LGBT women's rights with the National Organization for Women, gun sense laws with Moms and Men Action, and anything that extends equity to all. Thank you.
Good evening. This is Barb Bacon. I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. Generally, I drive people around and to doctor's appointments, and I'm getting ready to have my sign-up list for taking people to vote. Buttons, once again, are, I believe in healthcare for all. I've got some people that don't believe in Medicare for all. Gun violence, let's get some control of guns, and Black Lives Matter in honor of our friend Joel that passed away last year. So that's it, guys.
Hey, I'm Christian Cano. You're the co-host. My buttons are Moms and Men Action, Gunsmiths Legislation, Healthcare for All, Medicare for All, and also in my heart, Black Lives Matter on behalf of Joe Oldham, who's a guest of ours who passed away last year. That's it. There's our imaginary music. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Pan Dulce. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts, along with Barb Bacon. Jenny Gunn is actually on a hiatus for a couple of weeks. We want to thank you for joining us on Facebook Live, but also those who join us on YouTube and the thousands who now listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform. Once again, we switched our taping. So it's morning for us, Barb. We haven't done this.
I'm not a night owl at all. Ugh.
Well, yeah, I am a night owl, but I'm not a night owl. And so when we tape at nights, I don't get to, when you edit it and everything.
Well, you guys did 2 Queers in a Truck after that.
Yes. So it's back to back.
Oh, thank God I don't do that show with them. I'm like, oh my God. No way.
Yeah, it is nice.
I would be unconscious.
It is nice. I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking, I don't know if I don't really watch a lot of CNN unless it's like an election, but Don Lemon used to have a night show.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
No, he's in the morning now.
Yeah, I just saw him. I was like, there he is. Yeah.
Well, so, he used to come on, like it was back in the day, shows you how long it's been. There's Anderson Cooper, and then there used to be the Cuomo
show. Yeah.
And then it was Don Lemon.
Yep.
And so
they were funny
Cuomo
because
left.
They were friends and they used to give each other crap.
Yes.
So that was funny.
Yeah. They had a good chemistry. So Don Lemon wasn't on till like 9:00 Eastern time, our time. And now he has to do the early morning show, which means he goes on like at 5. I wonder how that feels to, wow, that's, well,
see, for me,
I guess,
fun because
yeah, I guess for a couple $1 million a year, yeah, you learn how to wake up early. So it's,
a couple million. Probably.
That's right. Well, listen, today, when you're watching this, today is actually January 4th. It's our first show of 2023. It's also the beginning of our 6th season. We've been doing this since 2018, so 6. It's kind of hard to explain. Anyway, let's just say 2023, and it's actually our 227th continuously show. We drop one every week. So you will be seeing this show on January 4th. We want to thank those who stayed through who survived New Year's Eve and so forth. And like our other shows, all the introduction has already been done. But we are going to salute to our neighbors. So whatever you're drinking this morning, I'm actually drinking coffee. Is that amazing? Yeah, we're actually, hey, that's the name of the show. Yep. And we are going to kind of do the same show format. We are going to pause just a little bit so we can talk about Manolo's Bakery.
Hey, y'all, the holidays are coming up, and what better way to celebrate locally but with Manolo's Bakery's fine goods and services. They have amazing chocolate cakes is what they're known for. Tres Leches cakes, tamales. Get your tamales orders in early, especially if you're going to order for Thanksgiving, because they sell out fast. But they have an amazing bakery and restaurant there on the east side of Charlotte, and you're missing out. Plus, you should support your Black and brown businesses and shop local and shop small to really keep the economy going. Thanks for watching, and shop with Manolo's this year.
Well, once again, welcome to Coffee Pan Dulce for those who are joining us. And you will hear next week the total numbers of our shows for 2022. I was watching last year's show, Barbara, that we dropped last week. We did an encore presentation. And at the beginning of the show, we talked about how last year, which was 2021. I'm getting confused, right? We had like 180,000 viewers for that year. And so this year, it'd be interesting to see how many we have, plus our listeners, just from those last couple of months that we've had, we've got to be up to 300,000. It'd be very interesting when I see the numbers, and then we'll show the demographics and all the people that are
you going to do an
fake accounts. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's what we should do. So, okay, let's talk about our 3 current events. The 3 current events, here's Barbara's 3 current events.
And this is Barb's current events.
All right, Barb's 3 current events. The first one is Donald Trump. Well, I know we're not supposed to say his name anymore. However, 45, there was an expose that was done in the New York Times, I believe, and the reporter did a story on one of Trump's advisors, current advisors, that's still left with him. And the advisor was quoted as saying that Donald Trump's days have sailed or something like that, like his energy and everything has sailed. And so Donald Trump, all week, basically for Christmas, basically just went on a rant again and said that the reporter was a very unattractive reporter, and that's how he attacks. And it's like it's a young lady who's reporting, and I see a picture, and she's not really unattractive. I guess he thought he insulted her by saying, she's unattractive, because she quoted some of the people that currently work for him, who said that, he's not the same person anymore. Yeah, that all he does is wake up, play golf, and complain. That's pretty much all he does. So
Isn't that
so that's the first.
Excuse me, I live. Considering where I live, I guess I hear that all the time. But whatever.
Yeah, people were you. Okay, here's the next one. Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State in Georgia. Is that who that is? He told the January 6th committee that Trump's phone call was a threat to him. A lot of the things are being released this week, and he basically said that he felt threatened when Donald Trump, did that to him. And then the last one, this is a really bizarre story. Have you heard of that Congressman-elect in New York, George Santos? He's the first LGBT congressman who was elected. So he ran for office for Congress against another Democrat who was an out gay man. They were both 2 out gay men at the time. Well, the Republican won. And this was a Democratic district in New York. And now it's turned out that almost everything that he said, except maybe his name, has been a lie. He's not Jewish. He didn't work for the big investment companies. He was married to a woman up until 2 years before he decided to run for office, which doesn't really that doesn't really say a lot, other than maybe she was, because she's from Brazil. So seems to me, well, we'll see what you say. Anyway, a lot is coming out about him, about almost everything he said. He kind of invented himself, including all his jobs, and yet he was still elected. So those are the three current events. Barb, you want to comment on any of those?
Let's stick with the New York guy. What has happened to our system where you have a candidate and you vet them? It seems like this is coming up over and over and over again. And in their haste to put viable candidates up against Democrats, this is what they get. I'm sorry, but I don't understand state law. Is he a congressman?
Yeah, he's a congressman.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're like a total lie, what can they do to him? Can they get rid of him?
I don't know.
Well, it's not going to happen because he's a Republican, and now the Republicans control Congress. So now,
because the only thing I can do is
crap.
Yeah, the only thing they can, my understanding is, sorry to interrupt you, Barbara, I know this is your time, but the only thing they can do is technically, once he's elected, unless he's broken some law, the Congress cannot seat him. And they're going to seat him because they need his vote.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So he's going to get sanctioned, maybe? Or nothing?
I have no idea.
And the
It's
Republican
weird.
morals continue to go downhill. Okay, that's enough of that guy. I just don't. But then Sarah Palin is like the queen of unvetted. So they didn't learn their lesson then, and now I don't get it. It's just like, oh my God, why do we have procedures? We don't need them anymore, right? Okay. The Donald
Brad Roethlisberger or Donald Trump?
I read an online article about him after Trump did that to him, and yeah, he was really upset and wondered what might happen to him, and it's disturbing. So that's not only part of the January 6th, but that's going to be part of the Georgia proceedings potentially against Trump. So
yeah, Fulton County DA.
Yep. So Art calls it the Trump avalanche. Is just teetering, waiting to fall. And I keep waiting for it. So I will be the epitome of patience for a while. But and Trump, I don't remember what rally went really bad, but he came tromping down the steps of Air Force One, and his head was down, and he was marching like a little boy that was really mad and something good didn't happen to him. I can imagine that's his demeanor every day. He just is, I'm hoping, fading into the sunset, except for the MAGAs that are getting weirder and weirder. Maybe he'll just go away. I know that's a pipe dream, but because somebody like him just doesn't go away. Then I guess the DOJ is going to have to help us there. Mr. Trump, can we have your 2 wrists, please? Thank you very much. I don't know, but he's hardly worth anything.
That's really bizarre, Barb. Exactly kind of what you said. Can you imagine working for someone like Trump?
I had a boss that was the worst boss I ever had, and plus he was short, so he had the little man's complex on top of it.
Yeah, the Napoleon complex.
The day that I worked for him, that I didn't want to kill him. But my cardinal rule is never do anything you go to jail for. So I let him go. But I made his life a misery some days because I just couldn't take it. Narcissists are just the worst if things don't go away. And come in my office, and just throw shit at me and then slam my door. And I'd be like, okay. So I'd open my
That's
door
crazy.
and throw it back at him and hit him in the head or something.
Mhm.
You know, it's like, are we professional people here? You know?
Yeah.
And everybody was like, everybody would just run to their cubicles or shut their doors because they knew he was going to go on a rant. So I don't know. They need medication.
Well, I mean, that's fun. It's interesting you say that, because it kind of leads into kind of something else that we're going to talk about for talk about 2022. But the Brad Raffensperger thing, I completely agree with you. I think a lot of people are talking about January 6th committee and the Attorney General's investigation into him, or the Justice Department's investigation. But I think the one they really have to watch is the Georgia investigation, because those are, you know, they don't, the Georgia Fulton County they're still looking into things, and, you know, something could happen with that one. But to this George Santos thing, it's the weirdest thing, because, you know, it broke almost about a week ago. He won the election. He went to, you know, it was promoted, even within the gay community, it was promoted about, you know, the first gay out Republican, which was so bizarre because the Proud Boys are so against gay people, and like the Christian nationalists are against gay people, but yet they have an openly gay candidate. And then the New York Times did a story, which my understanding was, it was already rumored that a bunch of the things that he was saying was not true, and that some senior Republicans in DC already knew that he was kind of boasting, almost like Madison Cawthorn. You know, people kind of knew that some of it was not true, but they just kind of, that's just part of
lying.
Well, to your point, Barb, this new crop of Republicans, from Laura Barber to Marjorie Taylor Greene, there's almost no vetting. All they care about is if you win the primary, all they care about is winning that seat. They don't really care about whether the person's telling 100%, because I think their voters, and this is what's so bizarre, their voters already assume that the person who's running for office is padding, you know, boating, whatever, I don't know what they call it, puffing, whatever you call it. But he completely, he basically just made things up.
Totally not that person. I mean, it's like, is he gay? Really?
Well,
do we know?
They did. There was one story that said they're questioning that, but then they're saying, well, no, he's saying that he just he was closeted for such a long time, and he's proud now that he can openly live his life. So it's this really bizarre situation, because you almost, and I don't say you, because I know Jenny was joining us, she would push back on what I'm about to say, but I almost kind of feel sorry for him in a little bit way, that he felt like he had to make all of this, that his normal life wasn't good enough to run for Congress, that he had to come up with this, his jobs, his colleges, he graduated from, which wasn't true. The money he made wasn't true. He said he owned 13 houses and properties, and now he's saying, no, that's not true. His grandparents were Jewish who escaped the Holocaust. Now he's saying, I didn't say I was Jewish, I was saying I was Jewish. Is that crazy?
I didn't even hear that. Oh my God.
Yes. So he's saying, this is what's so crazy.
Evaluation. Oh God.
It is just the most bizarre thing. But once again, it highlights the Republican Party has become the party of just crazy. And the fact that there are some people pushing back, there are some Republicans that are saying, hey, listen, he needs to be held accountable. Everything, as someone who's run for Congress twice, everything that he has said, he can say. You can say anything you want to say. You can make up stuff. It's just like going to a job interview. You can make up stuff. Here's the difference. The difference between a job is you sign that application that says if anything is false, they can fire you. For
Right.
Congress, there is no signature that you sign that says if it's false, they can fire you. So you can make anything up. The problem he's going to have is his financial disclosures. The financial disclosures, it is illegal to lie on your financial disclosures. And he said that he was making $55,000 a year before he ran for Congress. And then he donated $700,000 to his campaign to run for office. He has to account for, how do you donate $700,000 to yourself if you're only making $55,000? Somehow he either lied on his financial disclosures, like Trump has on his taxes, just to make himself look like he made more money. So there's a lie somewhere there, and that's what's going to get him, is his lie about his finances. Because if he says that, and he was raising money and people were donating to people thinking they were donating to someone who makes a certain amount of money, that's wire fraud. And so there's a lot of things there's a lot more problems that he has than just lying about who he is. It's all the financial stuff that's always going to get him. And so that's what I think is eventually going to get him. It'd be interesting to hear what Jenny has to say about this, because,
yeah.
But quite honestly, there are some gay Republicans that are defending him. And they're saying that this is what gay people have to do to survive in America. They have to lie about themselves. And it's a very interesting argument, because no, you don't. You don't. You can be gay and tell the truth. You don't have to. So I don't know. It's the weirdest. It's the weirdest thing. So those are the top three. We're going to take our first break, and we're going to go into our actual topics. We kind of have two topics, and we'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce right after this. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching our Coffee and Pan Dulce show every week. Don't forget, you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. We'll dance out. Well, welcome back. So, Barb, I see you going, that's kind of how I felt. I was like, this is...
What happened? I mean, I guess this being in Charlotte, this is the first time I've ever really known a large group of Republicans going to the Friday morning coffee. So I had this stereotype in my head, and here I'm actually, one-on-one, and hey, you really are a person, and get to know some of them and like them and meet them other things, and go to all the campaigns. Remember when we had the redo over what's his name? And that's where I met, what's his name? The one we were talking about.
Driggs?
No, I know, not Ed.
Oh.
He was running for Congress, and he came on the show. Matthew
Rittenhour.
Rittenhour, right. I met him, actually mini campaign for him with Tira. And my family's like, what are you doing in politics? Oh my God, don't go to the dark side, and I'm like, okay, but I had this better opinion because I was brought up, you're going to be a Democrat. And my whole family was. And then when I moved away, I'm like, good, I don't have to, I can do what I want. So I tried, I joined the Republican Party when I was in Delaware. I'm like, nope, this is not me. And I got out and I became an independent because I didn't really like either one of them. So I just decided to be independent. But this whole thing, and I've not seen this group one-on-one, obviously, because we're just Zooming now.
So since the pandemic.
Some of them that I know, I don't know if I would have the guts to even ask them. Because when you're away from people that long, and with all the changes I've seen go through and the people that I know day to day, I can be pretty gutsy, but I don't know that I would do that anymore.
Sure.
It just isn't. I don't want conflict. I had to deal with that in corporate life, so I just don't want to deal with it personally. But
that's kind of where I am. Yeah.
Do I care? Really? No. But my personality is I don't like to stir things up intentionally. So I would probably not say anything, but I'm back to, okay, here's where I think Republicans are, and I just really am disappointed.
That's very interesting you say that, because I've had these conversations, a lot of conversations with Jenny, and especially off the show. She and I talk about a lot of these kind of things. I remember there was a time where the image of a Republican was more business-oriented, conservative, fiscal conservative kind of Republican.
Right.
The image, the stereotype of a Democrat was more progressive, hippie, kind of, there was like two different kind of, a tree hugger kind of individual. It has flipped.
Yeah.
Flipped in a way that now the Democratic Party, or at least the people in the Democrats, the Proud Boys are calling the Democrats elitist, corporate elitist, all of these, the rich people, this. And the Republican Party has become like, they're anti-business. They want the government to help them. They want a lot of, it is this weird switch, which was a kind of an article we were going to talk about for Adios 2022. The Republican Party, we have seen it transform slowly through Trump, but especially during the pandemic, it has completely transformed into a party that is almost like the party of the crazies.
Yeah.
Now, the question to you, the question that I don't know if you were asking that question, I'm dying to ask a Republican, do you not see this? I mean, is it like, do you not know that that's what people think of your party? Because a lot of Republicans have switched to become independents.
Right.
And some of the Republicans that I have seen, even though I haven't seen a lot of people in person, some of those Republicans, they view things differently than I do. They see it as, that's not really like, it's this weird, like, don't take it seriously. That's not really what it's about. You know what I mean? And so then I think, well, maybe I'm like being too critical of their own party, because apparently they're not being critical of their party. I mean, but then we have people like Liz Cheney and the other people who are actually going, see, that's what I think they should be doing.
Yes.
And so it is this weird dynamic. And there's an interesting story. We're going to talk about Adios 2022. The things that happened in 2022, and then we'll talk about, we'll end the show with the January 6th, talk about the second anniversary of the January 6th terrorist attack. So 2022, it's been just a bizarre year. For me, it wasn't a bad year. It wasn't a good year. It was just this weird year where it felt like we spent the whole year worrying about the midterms, and then the midterms weren't as bad. And I was like, okay.
Oh, really, I know. I couldn't even watch it. I went to sleep and I woke up like 4 times. No, don't turn on the television set yet. You don't really want to know yet. I really was. That is the most stressed I've been in a long time. And I'm thinking,
well, didn't it seem like the whole year was just all about that?
I don't want to have to worry about shit. I'm retired. I don't want to worry about this stuff. And I think I said it before, like after the shutdown, wherever the stay at home. And I woke up that next morning going, please make this a dream. Please make this a dream. Because, you watch all those movies and you can turn off the TV and go, oh, thank God. Well, when can we turn off the TV here? It's just been non-stop craziness. And we had a sigh of relief, at least I did, and most of my family, when Biden won. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, he's old, but he's conservative and he's a nice man and he goes to church every Sunday and things are going to be more calm and maybe it'll get sane again. But it was only sane for a little bit, and then January 6th happened. And then it got the worst in my life that I've ever seen. I can't remember being that afraid except watching my parents during the Bay of Pigs. They were convinced we were going to get into a nuclear war, and they scared because I knew enough that I knew a nuclear war was bad and that we might not live through it. So why am I hiding under my desk at school? I'm going to die anyway. But it just...
Yeah, that didn't make any sense.
That's a fear that was a kid fear. Now I'm an adult.
Yep.
And I have a brother that's a Republican, and I was going to ask him, and I just thought, no, he and I get along reasonably well. I just thought, I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk politics. You have yours, I have mine. We are never going to agree. We're not talking about it. And when we went to Chicago for the Chicago Marathon, he started in and I said, I already told you we are not talking about that, and you are not ruining my family dinner. And he just went like this. I said, I'm pulling the oldest card. You are not doing that, and everybody else went, whoa,
Hey, Barb, question. Do you have this sense? I do. I'm just curious if you do as well. Do you have this sense that we're going to have that conversation, though?
Yes.
I know when we've had kind of this talk, not this in depth, but we've had this talk with our other co-host Jenny, and I think, and she can speak for herself, but I'm paraphrasing her. I think she has this belief that we are never going to come back together again, that we have kind of pushed apart, and then there's going to be Republicans and Democrats. And my belief is, and this may be naivety, maybe because, I just kind of a half glass full kind of person. It's just, I know we're going to eventually have that conversation with Republicans. We're doing a show in, I think, I don't know if it's January. Yeah, January 25th. Are there still good Republicans? And, we're going to have that conversation where we say, let's talk about things. Let's talk about, and I know it's like, I know we're going to have that conversation. I just don't know when we're going to have it, but I know eventually this, and I'm saying metaphorically, I don't know if that's the right term. This country is eventually going to have that conversation. I don't know how we can escape not having that conversation. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think that it's not going to be from the top down. I think it's more going to be from the bottom up. I see it happening.
Oh, good point. Yep.
Locally, as far as groups that I know of, that you have your one or two rebels that are Republicans, but primarily they're Democrats. And you've got people saying, we have got to talk about this, or we'll never come back. The group will never be the same. And I've tried to do that with my couple of neighbors, but maybe my timing was off. But tiptoeing around isn't my style, and not doing things because of them, or they do things and I don't go, that isn't me. So either we have a come to Jesus and we agree just not to talk about it, and is that called a phony relationship? I don't know, because basically we have our own beliefs and we're not going to change. But isn't that part of our personality then? And we got along before. So why can't we get along now? We just have something we're not going to talk about. And no more little snotty comments. I might hit you, but no, I go to jail for that. So I wouldn't do it. But, it's just, I think you're right. But I hear more and more people saying, I kind of miss sitting down and having coffee and doing this and doing that. And now that the pandemic is whatever it's going to be, as long as we're vaccinated and whatever, we're okay. But it flu-like, but it's more dangerous than flu. So I don't know, but I think it's going to have to come from the bottom up. And we people that are tired of it are going to have to go to our congressman and senator and say, fix this. You guys have to do it. And that's why you're there. You got to listen to we, the people. But I don't think it's going to happen soon.
Yeah.
I think if something bad happens to Trump, like, you don't think they're going to put him in jail? I think they might. I think if that happens,
So you and Jenny agree.
I think if that happens,
Yeah.
maybe we will see an autocorrect in the Republican Party, and they don't have to kowtow to him anymore. Why they think they have to is beyond me.
That's a good point. And we're going to take our second break, and then we're going to talk about that specific topic, because that was something that was very unique about 2022. And so to your point, we'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce right after this. Hey, I'm Christian Cano. I wanted to thank you so much for watching our Coffee and Pan Dulce shows. I also want to thank you so much for watching us on our video podcast, which is on Facebook and YouTube, but also for listening to us on our audio podcast shows on your favorite audio podcast platform like Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser, and many more. Once again, thanks for watching us and listening to us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. Bye, y'all. Well, welcome back. And so, to your point, Barbara, sorry about that. 2022 was the rise and fall of the MAGA Republicans and the Proud Boy kind of persons. It was the year that I don't think people were, I can't speak for people. I was never afraid of the Proud Boys, or I was never really afraid of MAGAs. But it was the year that I started to see that was something that we have. As a person who's like a half glass full kind of person, the one thing that I found in common with some Republicans was they don't like MAGAs and they don't like Proud Boys. And I know we talked about it kind of jokingly over the last year. Real Republicans, like conservative Republicans, like Liz Cheney's, and even probably Republicans that we know, the Proud Boys and the MAGAs are like the trailer trash of their party. And they just never really said it openly because they needed them to win primaries. Now they're openly saying that's kind of like the trailer trash of, like the MTGs, and they're kind of like the kind of like the white trash of our party. And that's one thing that we have. They don't like them either. And I've seen the MAGA Republicans become more isolated. Now they're attacking each other. And the Proud Boys, who are really more like, which are kind of typical people like that, they're all talk. I mean, they are doing some crazy bad things, just like crazy juvenile delinquent boys do crazy things. It's like firecrackers and things like that. And so I do see now that they're becoming less and less tolerated. And as they become less and less tolerated, they become more, I don't know even the term to use, but I don't even know if you can understand what I'm saying, is that it does seem that the one thing that I found in common in 2022 is MAGA Republicans and the Proud Boys. Republicans and independents don't like them either. They're too extreme for them.
Right. But I
do think that's one thing that we found in common.
I'm glad that judges or our judicial system is really going to whack the Proud Boys, and hopefully the Oath Keepers send a message. This isn't going to happen again, or this is what's going to happen to you. And the penalties are strict. I think that they are as scary as we're going to see. The organization and the militarization and some of the weapons that they brought with them, they weren't messing around. And if it would have gone on longer, I think it would have been a lot worse. But we're doing the right thing judicially. But what disappoints me the most is, okay, I agree with you that there are Republicans that really can't stand this and really don't like it, but those politicians better start opening their mouths and say,
yes,
it's got to go away. I don't ever expect them to go back to the GOP, because some of the acronyms for that now are not nice. But They've got to come back to some kind of normal.
Yeah.
This is way beyond the Tea Party zaniness that we saw. This is violence. And that's not what the United States is about. I have friends in other countries, and they think we've lost our mind. The country they looked to, and now we're just considered a bunch of crazies. And that insults me, because that isn't the majority of the Americans. We are not that. But that's all they see on the news, and these damn media people better stop doing it too. The sensationalism has got to go away. We've got to start living our lives and getting back to some kind of normal. And I don't know what that is anymore. I really don't.
But maybe this is normal.
Oh God.
See, that's what I wonder. And that's the conversations that Jenny and I have had in the past, is that the and I don't want to say it like this, the genius of some Republicans, and I only say genius only because I have not gotten to that point. So I don't know if that's genius or that's delusional. The delusional genius of some Republicans is they have accepted that this is normal before we have. We're still trying to figure out what normal is. Yeah. They've already decided this is normal. This is the way it's going to be. And I'm going, God, is this normal? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
yes,
I'm still trying to figure it out, the game, and they've already said, okay, this is the game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I don't like it.
No, exactly. No, that's my point. My point is that I don't like it.
You're crazy, and we're not crazy people. I mean, crazy is still dominating that party. And we need somebody with a big stick like Mitch to say enough is enough. And when is he going to do that? I don't think they've recovered from what happened in the midterms. I think thought they were going to kick butt and take over. Yeah. And thank God for the young voters that saved us. I cannot say this enough. I think my nieces and my nephews, the ones that I know, voted. And thank God for them, because if they didn't have the wherewithal to get out and vote and believe in what they believe in and make it happen, we'd be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, they were a firewall.
We might not have democracy.
Well, and that is exactly the one thing that happened in 2022. 2022 seems to have been the year that Republicans actually dropped the ball. They've always been really good at messaging and us responding. They've always been really good at strategizing, because they have to, because they're kind of a small party. They're not like a big open tent party. So they have to be very strategic, very things that they've done. 2022 showed, I think, the failure and some of their strategies. And this kind of goes into this article. The Washington Post did a wonderful story in Georgia, and they followed this gentleman. His name is Cody Johnson. He is who you would think would be a typical Proud Boy or a typical kind of MAGA Republican person. He's from rural Georgia. He is 33 years old. He's an electrician with no college degree. He's got a beard. He's kind of like who we would think would be
Democrat.
Stereotyping. He is anti-Trump, an anti-Proud Boy. And he actually made an effort in rural Georgia to travel to talk to other people, because in his own words, I don't want extremists in office. And he is an example of how some of rural America is turning against MAGAs, turning against Trump, turning against the Proud Boys, because as a general, this is one of the things that Jenny said all the time that she's really observant. Conservative people, regardless of your Latinx conservative, whether you're Catholic conservative, the term conservative means you don't like change too fast. Right? People who live in rural areas don't like change either too fast. Right. So when you go up to them, doing the things that the Proud Boys and the MAGAs are doing, like shooting up electric grids and all that kind of stuff, it backfires in rural Georgia. They may not agree with Democratic policies or just the image of Democrats, code for the Black and brown people,
Right.
but that gets pulled aside when you're too crazy around them. And they don't like change too fast. And voters like him in Georgia were actually turning against that MAGA message because of the fact that they don't like too much change. And it was a wonderful story. And that was an example of, especially here when we live in North Carolina, that's an example of some of the policies or some of the strategies that was being used in 2022, I think is going to come back and haunt the Republican Party because they have not grown their base. Their entire message right now about wokeness, CRT, they're attacking woke businesses, they're attacking investment companies. They're trying to go after Black and brown, really conservative individuals who don't like gay people because they believe that's going to attract Black and brown people to join the Republican Party. And it may get a couple of them. It may get, a couple of really, really conservative Black and brown individuals. The problem is younger voters don't like that. And even younger Republicans don't like that messaging, and they will actually vote against the Republicans. So my whole point about 2022 is they've made so many mistakes in 2022. I know Jenny believes, and I can't speak for her, but she said this on the show last, that the Republican Party will break up. I don't think that will happen. I think it is going to take at least a decade for them to recover from all the mistakes that they've made, the same way that we made a bunch of mistakes maybe in the 70s and maybe early 80s. We became almost too liberal, And I think they had become so crazy that it's going to take at least a decade for them to recover, for people to trust them again, because that party of like the Reagan Democrat, or, that the reason I was a Reagan Democrat in college, because those were the successful people and all that. If I was younger, why would I want to become a Republican? Because it basically brands you as a crazy idiot,
Yep.
So I don't know. How do you feel about 2022? I did a lot of talking as usual. So,
Well, I agree with a lot of that. But I think the other thing is, what happened to family values? How did they get so far away from that? Don't you remember what the heck?
Yep.
Newt Gingrich.
Yep. Family values.
Made them sign those contracts, boy, and they were going to do this and they were going to do that. The thing that still is curious to me is, what is this long game they keep talking about? The Republican long game. From what I've been able to find out from talking to people that are like political, but they don't care whether I'm a Republican or a Democrat. The word is that the long game is they affiliated themselves with the evangelicals because they needed a different cause, and anti-abortion would be it. And they've been putting this together for a long time. And this is what was going to happen. And that's why they loaded up the Supreme Court the way they did. I mean, it sounds logical to me.
Yeah.
I can believe that some of them are devious enough to do this. And they had the Koch brothers supplying them with money. Now there's only one Koch brother, blah, 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 blah. So abortion rights are gone. But in some Republican states, these people were scrambling because they never thought it was going to happen. And now they have all these laws in place. And what are they going to do about this? And they kind of ignored it because they thought, well, maybe it's going to go away. And that's where the young women voters and the young men supporting their women voters woke up and said,
yes,
hey, we don't want to live our lives the rest of this way with them controlling our lives to this kind of degree. I mean, when you get down to it, it would be no abortions, no birth control, no day after pill, no
Yeah.
contraception at all. I mean, hell, they might as well be Catholics now,
Yeah.
Really? I mean, when you come down to it, the Catholics didn't believe in any of that when I was growing
That's
up.
right. Yeah.
So what did they do to their religion? That should be an insult to evangelicals in some respects.
Yeah.
So maybe they've lost that group as well from all this craziness. I don't know. I don't know enough about it. But the long game commentaries that I'm still hearing, that worries me. What's the next shoe to drop? I wonder what that is. And it worries me. Because
That's a very good point, Jen. I keep calling you Jen. Hey, Jen. Barbara. We're going to take our last break, and when we come back, we'll talk briefly on that, and then we'll go on to the January 6th terrorist attack. If you like what you're hearing on this show, think about what you hear on Jenny's show. Jenny has a show that comes on 30 minutes after this. It's called Two Queers in a Truck, and it's in encore presentation mode right now. And this next commercial will talk about Jenny's show that comes on after this show. We'll be right back.
Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Well, welcome back. To your point, Jen. To your point, Barbara. Barbara, I'm going to have to put your name on there. Hey, by the way, Democracy St. Bernie is still with us, and also MAGA Baby Trump Pinata. They're silently listening to this conversation. That's what confuses me, Barbara, the long game for the Republican Party. Obviously, they completely miscalculated in 2022 because there are stories that the Republican Party, they're very good strategists. They do sit down, they put money into what are we going to do next year? What are we going to be doing the next year? Democrats are very reactive. They're very
on a national level, they do it.
Yes.
Democrats don't.
Yes. Yeah. We don't. And they do a very good job. What's his name? Ralph Reed runs this group. It's like a family, some kind of group. And they put $40 million in 2022 targeting specifically Black and brown people who did not like gay people. That's how they started talking about drag queens. They're the people that were originally behind that movement. And it caught on. And it caught on also with the Proud Boys. So they throw all this stuff at the wall. They see what catches. When it catches, they run with it. The miscalculation is they did not calculate, and I don't think even Democrats did. We had a hope. We know that people vote in higher percentages once they get over 45 to 50 years old. The highest percentage of people who vote are between 45 and 60. And then, of course, seniors vote at the highest percentages. They believed it was about 10 years away till millennials get into that group, that they had about 10 years before young people would really impact elections. We always talked about when the young people come out, they're going to change the world. They knew it's not going to happen for another 10 more years because just by numbers, they generally don't. The abortion issue brought it, sped it up.
Blew that out of the water.
Sped it up. And I think they miscalculated that young women would come out. We were going, God, we need the young women. We were crossing our fingers. I don't think we even thought they would because I wasn't seeing them on the streets. So I was like, okay, maybe they're not. But they did. And they miscalculated so badly that now they have to change their long game. They know that the policies that they're pushing for are not attractive for the people who are going to come into the biggest voting block, but they don't care because they figure it'll give us time to kind of work on things to win them over. The Democrats have always been pushing for them. So we're ahead of the game. And I do think that they completely miscalculated all of this stuff. And as a result of that, it's going to be a very interesting 2023 and of course 2024, because all of their messaging is really, I mean, think about their messaging, Barbara. Yeah. They're running on anti-woke, CRT, drag queens and gay people. That's their whole message. I mean, really, if you talk about their hope, that's their whole message. It's not economy, Social Security, those kind of things. And they're
the Social Security. They want to have that pot of money and do something with it. Oh yeah, you want to see seniors get me?
And aren't they the party that every year, and even this last election, every year they say it's all about pocketbook issues. The only thing that matters to people is what happens at the kitchen table, whether they can afford gas, whether they can afford that's their whole message. And that's why they say Biden was going to lose, is because it doesn't make any difference. It's all about gas prices and all this kind of stuff. Well, it turns out, and so they were pushing all this social stuff. And it turns out the social stuff actually does matter to younger people. And those younger people came out to vote. And that's why it's going to be very interesting to see, what happens in 20. I'm kind of a half glass full kind of person. So I'm actually liking the position that we are in. We are as far as America, because all of that, yes, it is a pain to wake up every day to see the crazy stuff the Proud Boys are doing. I mean, they shot up some more stuff in Washington State, electric grids. It's annoying. It's crazy. As someone who has a crazy younger brother, it's annoying, but we deal with it. We deal with it as adults. We handle it. We handle our business. And I just think America, we're at a point now where I feel a lot better than I did at the start of 2022.
Yeah.
And 2022, I felt a lot better at the start of 2021. 2020 was probably the worst year ever.
Yeah, that's right.
But I didn't know if Trump was going to win. So in a way, I do feel a little bit better. Not to say it's over. We still have to keep talking about things. But I do feel, I don't know, I just feel, remember we had the show, 2 years ago or a year ago, we talked about how do you feel about vaccinations when the pandemic started? And I said, I think we said, or at least I remember I said that I'm not as nervous as I was before.
Right. Well, we didn't have anything to protect us.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't have anything. So I do feel better. I mean, I don't know. Do you feel better? Or
I do.
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I feel that people are vaccination fatigued. I know more people that didn't get a flu shot. And I was at a Christmas party and somebody said they didn't get their flu shot yet. And I looked at her, I said, I thought you said they were all vaccinated. And I have a friend that's going through chemotherapy. She's very ill and I have to protect her. I see her 2 times a week. I am religious about this and I am a radical about it because I've gone through chemotherapy myself and I am a survivor and I'm thankful. But this one guy said to me, I'm just sick and tired of getting vaccinated. And I said, okay, that's you, but you are a carrier. You're a carrier for the flu. You're a carrier for a cold. I mean, they can't get rid of the common cold. But do you see how the hospitals are filling up again? And Art goes, here we go. And I get on my pharmaceutical bandwagon.
Merry Christmas.
I don't care. You're in here, you're breathing. You don't have a flu shot. And then I found out Art didn't have a flu shot. And I said, I will let you live. But if you don't have a flu shot by tomorrow, adios. And I wasn't kidding. What the hell is the matter with you?
Yeah.
And then people we know get RSV. And we have all these this influenza A now. This is what happens when you got all this mumbo jumbo of germs. And I don't know. I'm done.
Well, it is, it seems like once we get over one thing, there's another thing. And, but even with that in mind, I feel a lot more I feel a lot more comfortable with things than I remember feeling a year ago. Oh, yeah. So and there's a lot of things. So listen, we only have about 6 minutes left. So I want to kind of briefly talk about and get your views. This week, when this show airs on January the 6th, we'll be not celebrating. We'll be remembering the 2nd anniversary of the January 6th terrorist attack. We did a show last year about this as well, and we want to talk very briefly about this. So what are your thoughts about as we come up to the 2 years on the January 6th attack?
Well, as I've already said, I am extremely happy with the Department of Justice going after these guys with a big stick and the jail time they're getting, no sympathy. And let's keep sending that message. But then in addition, we've got Trump and we've got all his instigators. And that for me is the next step. These people have to be punished. At a minimum, if they're in politics, you're out of here. You did not comply with the oath you took. You violated it. You killed people. I mean, maybe they can't prove that, but you were part of the process. You're done. That's what I want to see happen. That would make me really happy. And I know a lot of people that want things a lot more radical to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. But
yeah,
punishment, accountability, responsibility, accountability, punishment. We are a punishment society. You do something wrong, you get punished. Where is it? It's been dragging on way too long. And I hope what Merrick Garland and his department are working on puts the screws to these people because they deserve it. I know a few of them are out of the limelight now and they're doing it on purpose, probably because they're listening to their lawyers.
Exactly. Yep.
I mean, when have you heard Ted Cruz spout off lately? Not.
Yeah, they're all he's trying to. I don't think he's trying to act normal. He's trying to kind
like he did. Oh, my daughters wanted to go to Mexico.
Yes, exactly.
Blame it on your daughters, you jerk. I don't know. I'm glad for the silence from some of them, but we will never know what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Can't happen fast enough for me because I'm tired of waiting for their punishment. They killed people. We don't let the common man get away with that. Why should they?
Yeah. Well, and that's and I think I completely agree with you, Barb, that I think Americans, as a general rule, we want people to be held accountable.
Yep.
And I do think that the holding these insurrectionists accountable is something that we completely expect. Even from Republicans, we expect that. And I've heard it. I've been at the sports bar a couple of times to watch games as college season has kind of started to end. And even Republicans that I know there have openly said Trump was wrong what he did. And those people need to be held accountable. Yep. And of course, I don't really want to feed into that kind of, because I know we'll talk about other things if I did that. But I at least there's a part of me that's I'm glad to hear that because I don't know, because we're not around them. I'm not here to hear what they say. But yeah, I do believe that there are a lot more people that want to be held accountable. And the same people, this is, once again, the miscalculation of 2022. The same people who may be pro-life, who may be against abortion, let's say Catholics in Texas or just family members of ours.
Right.
The same values that they have are the same people who also want they want low crime. They want people to be held accountable. So you can't be a party that says, I'm pro-life, but I want crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It backfires. And that's where I think, let's say as Democrats, that we have to be able to understand that not everyone is black and white. There are Republicans that believe one thing, but there's some things that they agree with us on.
Yeah.
And that's where I would say maybe I differ from maybe some other people. I believe in 2023 and 2024 that we do have to start reaching out to other people. It doesn't mean we have to agree with them. It doesn't mean I have to, invite them to my house, but we do have to start having those conversations. What can we find in common? Is it the Panthers? Is it Alabama? I don't know. What can we find in common? I know that one of the things that we can find in common is people do not like extremes.
Yeah.
And Proud Boys are extremes, MAGAs are extremes, Trump is extreme, and those are extremists. And to be fair, sometimes when I hear AOC talk extremists,
we
have to speak out against that too.
Off the deep end, sure. I mean,
yes,
both sides.
Now she seems kind of normal.
Yeah, I thought her comments on that new junior congressman who can't find an apartment.
Yeah.
Hey, I just bought my first couch and I've been here 2 years, and I'm like, Oh my
Yeah.
God, she is normal, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, she's got day-to-day problems just like us normal people. So
It's funny you say that, Barb. I know we're basically out of time. We got to end the show. Funny you say that. The congressman you're talking about is in Florida, and the Florida congressman, he is the first. There are a lot of firsts. He's like the first Gen Z person to be elected to Congress, and he was trying to get an apartment in D.C., but his credit wasn't good enough to get one of the apartments. It's very hard to get an apartment in D.C.
Mhm.
So he had posted on social media like people his age do. I probably wouldn't have. I've been kind of embarrassed if that had happened, but he wanted to prove a point that it's just for, some of the things. Well, there are Republicans, and really proud boys and MAGAs that said, well, don't the Democrats vet their people, to have, okay. Yes, that is funny. So now that this stuff has happened with this George Santos, I almost want to say, let's just say.
You said a precedent with Sarah Palin, but this is off the deep end, boys,
But,
Oh, God.
But how can you compare a young man who is honest about his credit
Yep.
and a person who lied about everything?
Yeah. Let's see.
That's the
The
difference.
scale isn't exactly even here.
Exactly. Oh, well. We have run out of time, and I want to thank you, Barbara, for helping us carry the show.
Yeah, I will try.
Now we're going to get replies.
Let her talk more. Maybe she's going to say, "Don't let her talk too much," right?
I was just about to say that. That lady's going to say, "It's the first time y'all let Barbara talk the whole show."
You may be sorry, because my family always says, "Do not give her a microphone."
Hey, that's great. That's great. All right, we're going to end the show. Barb, tell us where you're going to be in 30 seconds or less over the next week. Now, don't forget, this is after January 4th.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right.
I'm in the process of helping friends remodel. So I will be back up in Winston-Salem, and it will be continuing. I'm thinking a month. So it's going to be one day at a time. Because with the old houses, you never know what kind of surprises you're going to get. And so day to day. So I may need a tranquilizer. But it's not my house. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm going to be doing.
Excellent. And I will be somewhere. I think I'm sure I'll be camping or something, as we get into winter. It seems like our winters, it's going to be hard to top, though. For those who are watching us around the country, I'm sure you've had some crazy cold weather, no matter where you are. We actually had 5 days below freezing in a row. And so
wind chill factors of 5, which for us is unheard of. I got out my Illinois clothes. I was so happy. Oh God, I can wear these.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's going to be January and February. It's going to be so we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll go by very quickly. We do want to thank y'all for watching once again.
So yeah.
Our next show, which will be on January the 11th, we will be talking about the GOP's war on MAGA, how they're trying to get rid of the MAGA in their party. And then we'll have Dr. B back, Dr. Bonfalca, former friend of our show, will be back on the 18th. And we'll be talking about the topic, does America need open borders? And then we will end the month of January with the show, Are There Still Good Republicans? And then, of course, we have some wonderful shows in February for to end out our winter shows. So thank you, Barbara. We will wave goodbye as we end, and we'll see you next week on Coffee and Pan Dulce. We'll have to do our fake music. Bye, y'all. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching today's Coffee and Pan Dulce. Thank you, Barb. We carried the show. And Jenny, we missed you. We can't wait to have you back. We will see you next week in Coffee and Pan Dulce. We hope you have a great 2023. Bye, y'all.
Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is Two Queers in a Truck. Stay tuned.